In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make the virus shawl. Now the yarn that I've used here is actually the Stylecraft Cabaret, and this is really nice because it's a variegated yarn, which means it changes colour for you as you're working through, and you can see the colour change here. So it requires no changing of yarn whatsoever, and this also has a really nice little fleck in it as well. This comes in 9 different colours, which are all absolutely beautiful. I definitely recommend this yarn. I shall leave a link in the description box below of where you can get that. You will need your corresponding crochet hook. If you're using this yarn, I would suggest a 4mm crochet hook, or just read the yarn label to see what size your yarn recommends. And then you will need some scissors and a darning needle for the end to just sew in your ends. So you want to begin by creating your slip knot, and you can do this whichever way you prefer. You want to insert your hook, and you're going to start off by chaining 10. So that's yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. Then we're going to make this chain into a circle. So you want to simply insert your hook right into the very first chain that you did, grab the yarn and pull it through both loops that are on the hook, and that creates your circle just in there. You can just place the thread just down on your work, and we'll work that in as we're going around. You then want to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and this is going to count as your first stitch because we're going to be doing some treble crochets into the center of this circle. Now this will be a UK treble. In the US this is known as a double crochet. It's the same stitch, it's just different terms. So you want to yarn over and insert your hook into the very center circle, grab your yarn and pull it through. You'll have 3 loops on the hook. Grab the yarn, pull through 2 loops, and grab the yarn and pull through 2 loops. So essentially there we have 2 stitches in total, and you're going to work your way round until you have 20 stitches in total. So that's 3, and just to show you again, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So that's 4 stitches. If you want to pause the video and work 20 stitches all together, you won't work all the way around to the beginning. You'll find it will stop about here, which is correct. So go ahead, pause the video, work those stitches, and meet me back in just a moment. So now I've done my 20 stitches, and I'm just going to pull on the end that I've just finished just to bunch them up slightly because we want the top of this to lay flat. So that is our first round. Now what we're going to do is chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn the work. So remember, this is classing as our first treble, and for this round we're simply going to do another treble crochet into the top of each of these stitches. So this is our first one, and then we go into the top of the next stitch, 2, and straight into the top of the next stitch, 3, 4, and then you would just carry on all the way round right to the last stitch. I shall meet you back in this last stitch here because it's quite easy to miss it. So pause the video, work your way to the end, and we'll just double check that you have grabbed that last stitch. So now I've worked my way all the way round. I've just double checked my stitches and I have 19, which is correct so far because I haven't yet put a stitch right into this last stitch here. Now this one will look slightly different because this is the chain 3 from the previous round. So all you do is go into the top of the stitch or the last chain of that chain 3 and create your treble. So you'll have 20 stitches in the first round and 20 stitches in the second round. You're then going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn your work. So that again is classing as your first treble. Now for this round we're going to do a treble in each of the stitches, but we are going to add a chain 1 between each of them. So if this classes as our first treble, you want to chain 1 and then go ahead and do your treble into the top of the next stitch and chain 1 and a treble into the top of the next stitch, chain 1 again, and so on and so forth. So again, I'll meet you right at the very end of this row after I've done 19 trebles. I'll show you how to do the last stitch and then move on to the next row. Okay, so I've just done my 19th treble just here. I'm going to chain 1 and then I'll find the third chain from the bottom of the previous stitch from the previous row and do my treble in there. So now what we're going to do is chain 10, and this is going to act as a foundation for the next row. So if I just bring in the work here, you can see that we've just done almost like a rainbow here, and the third round that we've just done is this one with gaps. Then after that the pattern kind of starts again, so we need to create these loops, and this is what we're going to be doing in this section of the pattern. Once you kind of get the concept of the pattern, it's really easy to just keep building without actually having to look at a written pattern or referring back to a video. So we're going to be working these loops in this round. So what we're going to do now is start off by doing a chain 3, and that's going to class as a stitch on this side, and then do an extra 7, so that's 10 in total. So we've just done 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. And then you want to turn your work and you're going to insert your hook into the second gap that you see. So this is the first gap, this is the second. So insert your hook, grab the yarn and pull it through, and grab the yarn and pull it through both those loops. That is a double crochet in the UK. In the US that is known as a single crochet. So we've just done our chain 10 here. We then want to chain 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4. You're going to skip 1 space and then do a double crochet into the next space. Remember, that is known as single crochet in the US. Chain 4 again, 1, 2, 3, 4, skip a space and do a double crochet. And then once more with the chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, skip a space and then do a double crochet. This brings us to the top or to the base, whichever way you're looking at it. If we're looking at the pattern as we're doing it, this is the top of the work. So at this point we're going to do 2 longer sections. So we're going to chain 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. And then we're going to insert our hook into the, we're going to skip 1 space and do it into the next space. And this is a double in here. And then again we're going to chain 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Skip a space and do a double crochet. And essentially what we're doing here is we're doing a mirror image of the other side. So if you imagine that this stitch here is straight down the middle, we're going to do exactly the same on the other side. So we're going to chain 4, 2, 3, 4, skip a space and do a double crochet. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, skip a space and do a double crochet. And chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, skip a space, and you should end up in the second to last space just here if you've done it correctly. Double crochet, and then we're going to chain 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then do a treble crochet into the third chain from the bottom of your very first stitch. So essentially that's classing as your chain 10. If you remember that I said right at the very beginning here, the first chain 3 is going to class as a stitch. Okay, so you now have a mirror image. This is where we start the pattern all over again. So you're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, turn your work, and then in this space you're going to do another 9 treble crochets so that you have 10 in total. Remember, this is classing as your stitch. So straight around this loop here you're going to work another 9 stitches so that you have 10 in total. So pause the video, work those 9 stitches and meet me back in a moment. So now you have your 9 stitches just here, so that's creating one of the fans, and then we're going to go straight into this next loop here, and we're going to insert our hook into that loop, grab the yarn and do a double crochet. So remember, that's single in the US, and that anchors it down. We're then going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, insert our hook into the next loop and chain 4 again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and do a double into the next loop. So here, if you look closely, you have a chain 4, a chain 4 and a chain 4, so you have 3 chain 4s. In this round you'll only have 2 chain 4s, okay, because now we're going to start working into this chain 7 space, and we're going to go straight into it and to do 10 treble crochets. So yarn over straight into that space and do 10 double crochets. So if you want to pause the video, do your 10 and come and meet me back in a moment where we'll move into this second chain 7 space. Okay, so I've just done my 10 treble crochets here. Now you have to be really careful that you are counting correctly how many stitches that you've done, because a lot of the time this is where people go wrong and they actually end up counting this stitch here as a treble, which is incorrect. If you look closely, this is actually your chain 4 from the previous round. So if you kind of lift it up, you can see that you've got your double crochet just there, and then you have a little gap, and then 10 treble crochets, which is correct. So once you've done your 10 treble crochets in there, we're going to move straight over onto the next side because we're going to do our mirror image now. So you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the next space, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. That is your treble, and then you want to go ahead and do 9 more. So pause the video and meet me back in a moment. So now we've just done our 10 trebles in those chain 7 spaces, and we're ready to anchor this fan bit down now. So we want to go ahead and do a double crochet into that chain 4 space. We're then going to chain 4 again, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and double crochet into that chain 4 space, and again 1, 2, 3, 4, and double crochet into the next space, and this brings us to the last space on the row. So we're going to go straight into there and do 10 treble crochets. So pause the video, work your 10 trebles and meet me back in a moment. So here we now have your work starting to build. You see that you have the flat against the top, and then we're working our way down. So once you've done that, if you remember on the first row, we did a round of trebles, another round of trebles, and then a round of trebles with a chain 1 in. So this is classing as the first round of trebles. So what we do now is chain 3, that's going to class as a treble, turn your work, and then we're going to start working into the tops of these stitches. So you just go into the top of the next stitch and do a treble, into the top of the next one, do a treble, and then you would do that into each of the 10 trebles all the way round. Your last treble will probably look a little bit stretched out because it's just this one here. So make sure that you're counting. This is 1, 2, 3. Pause the video and work your way up to 10 and meet me back in a moment. So that's those 10 trebles. And what we're going to do is now anchor that one down into the chain 4 space, and we do that with a double crochet. So you remember how the last time round I showed you that you've got your 3 chain 4 spaces here, then you have your 2 chain 4 spaces, and now you end up with just 1 chain 4 space. So chain 4, and then do a double crochet into the next space, and then we're ready to do our trebles into each of the trebles from the fan from the previous row. So again, you're not counting the top of this double crochet just here. You want to work into the top of this stitch. So we're just going right in there. So grab the yarn and pop it into the top of that stitch, and then do your treble. And that just anchors that fan down. And then you're going to work your way round into the next stitches. So count 10 in total, and then meet me back once you've counted 10. So you've just worked 10, and you'll notice that you'll be in the center of your work again, and that is correct because we're going to do a mirror image all the way back round again. So you just carry on and do another 10 in the tops of the next treble crochets. So again, pause the video and meet me back once you've got to this 10th stitch. So now once you've done that fan, we're going to anchor that down by doing a double crochet into the chain 4 space. Hopefully you're getting to know what's coming next in this pattern now. So it's chain 4 and double crochet into the next stitch. And then we are going to do our last 10 treble crochets into the tops of these stitches. Remember, you're not classing the chain 4, so pull your work out a little bit. You'll see that this is your double, so we're going to do our treble into the top of this stitch. Pause the video, work your 10 trebles, and meet me back in just a moment. Okay, so again, make sure that you have done 10 stitches and that you've not missed putting a stitch in the chain 3 from the previous row. We're then going to chain 3, turn our work, and this is the row where we're going to put a chain in between each of the trebles. So this is classing as a stitch. We want to chain 1 and then work into the top of the next stitch. So that's 2, chain 1, into the top of the next stitch, and do that 10 times, but on your 10th treble don't do a chain 1. So meet me back when you've done your 10th treble and I shall show you what to do next. This is what your work should be looking like now. So remember I said after you've done your 10th treble, don't chain 1 because we're going to anchor this down in this chain 4 space. So you want to insert your hook into that chain 4 space, grab the yarn and do your double crochet. And we're not going to do another chain 4 for this round, we're just going to go straight into the top of the next treble. So remember, make sure that you're working into the actual treble and not into the chain 4 from the previous round. So if I pull this apart here, it's actually this one that we're looking at. So you want to do a treble and chain 1, do a treble, chain 1, etc. But because we're at the middle of the shawl, you're going to continue on so that you count 20 trebles all the way around, and it will take you to this section here. So work your way all the way around, it's almost like a rainbow, and meet me back once you've counted 20 trebles with a chain 1 in between. Okay, so now we've done our row of trebles with the spaces in between. We're right back around the other side, and you'll have your chain 4 space here. So we want to anchor that fan down with a double crochet, and then you're going to do your treble crochets into this fan in the corner. So remember, making sure you're going into the right stitch. Do your treble and chain 1. Work your way all the way around till you have 10 trebles, and meet me back in a moment. So where we're up to now is the point where we're going to start off again by creating these circles in order to create the shells for the next row. So this is where we've just ended, and what we're going to do is chain 3, 1, 2, 3 to class as our first stitch. Turn the work and then chain a further 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So that makes a chain 10 in total. We're then going to do a double crochet into the second space along. So insert the hook there just to anchor down that chain. Then we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip a space and then do a double crochet. Chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip a space and double crochet. And then chain 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Skip a space and double crochet. At this point, we're going to create another larger loop. So you want to chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. And this is where some people can get a bit confused or go wrong at this point. So if you look closely, we've got the dip here. We have the chain 4 just here from the previous row, and then we have a space. So remember, we're almost like doing a mirror image. So this is the last space from this shell, and this is the first space from the next shell. So you want to find the second space. So we're in the second space here. So you want to find the second space just here. And then you're going to do a double crochet into that second space from the next shell along. Just like so. So that creates a bigger section. Then that brings you to the center of our work. So we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, skip 1 and then do a double. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, skip 1, do a double, and then chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, skip 1 and do a double. Now, because we've just done our 3 chain 4s, so you can see that we've got 3 smaller gaps, we're then ready for a bigger gap. So it's chaining 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. It brings you to the very center of our work. So we skip 1 and do a double crochet. And because we're mirroring our work now, we now start off with a chain 7 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, skip 1 and double crochet. So now you're going to create the 3 smaller spaces. So chain 4, double crochet, chain 4, double crochet, chain 4, double crochet. Pause the video, do that, and I'll meet you back just to show you how to get over this section again. So as we are now, we're the same on the other side. So this is the second to last space from this shell. So you want to have a look at the other shell. Remember to try and identify the chain 4 space from the previous row. This is the first space, this is the second space. So we're going to chain 7, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7, and then do a double crochet into that second space on the next shell. You then want to do chain 4, double crochet, chain 4, double crochet, and then it will take you back to the second to last space. So meet me back here and I shall show you how to finish off this round. So now once you've got to the end here, you want to chain 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then you want to do a treble crochet into the chain 3 from the previous row, and that connects your work. So now it would simply be a case of repeating your pattern, and obviously it's going to get bigger each time. You're going to have 1 shell extra in each row. If you're happy with the pattern, that's brilliant. You can get on with that now. Make sure that you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to keep up to date with any of my latest videos. But if you're still not quite happy and you're still not quite sure of what to do, I'm just going to give you a little bit more information. So follow this link just here and meet me back in the next video.